just getting some announcements coming into us, in fact, from Buckingham Palace. Now, the main announcement is that it's been confirmed in the last few seconds that Queen Elizabeth's funeral is to be held on Monday, September the 19th. Monday morning of September the 19th. That just coming into us. Also hearing as well that the Queen's coffin will be taken from Balmoral Castle in Scotland to Edinburgh on Sunday. And the news as well that the Queen's coffin will be flown from Edinburgh to London on Tuesday. But the most crucial point there is that the funeral will be held on September the 19th on Monday. Well, let's go straight to Buckingham Palace. Going to talk to our correspondent Benedicte Paviot, who joins us from there. So there you go then, Benedicte. That news, that confirmation just coming into us in the last few seconds. It is going to be on the Monday, the September the 19th.
Yes, that official confirmation for the one source that we needed, and that is Buckingham Palace, the Queen's former London residence, now King Charles III's London residence. And that state funeral will take place on Monday, the 19th of September. And as her successor has already told us, King Charles III, that date will be a public holiday here in the United Kingdom. And that is very much to allow people to come and really express their feelings and their respect and their admiration for the late Queen. So interesting, because it was such a fulsome tribute that Charles III gave her this morning to his mother. He said her reign had been unequaled in its duration, its dedication, and its devotion. So we had the official proclamation of Charles III's reign. We had that. It was done under the watchful eye of his eldest son, Prince William, who is now Prince of Wales. Of course, he is now first in line, heir to the throne, also under the watchful gaze of Charles's wife, Camilla, Queen Consort. And it was a very serious affair, as one would expect, because, of course, this is really important on a constitutional level, that everything be respected. There were lots of former prime ministers, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, and, of course, the current Prime Minister, Liz Truss. There were many top officials there as well, a few religious leaders. It's already been a very busy afternoon for King Charles III since he had the Archbishop of Canterbury come to Buckingham Palace and see him, then the Prime Minister with the Cabinet, then the opposition with Sir Keir Starmer, of course, the leader of the Labour Party, and then religious leaders. So this is really King Charles III getting to work, preparing, of course, the funeral of his mother, to which we already know, for example, that the American President, Mr. Biden, will be attending, possibly some former US presidents. But there will be many, many things. And here the crowd is absolutely extraordinary. It's very good-natured, but it is absolutely jam-packed of people queuing up very, very at a snail's pace to try and make it to the gates of the palace to see the many, many, many tributes with flowers, messages and candles that are being left constantly there. And they are removed so that then there is more space for more tributes, more flowers, more candles.
Yeah, many tributes and many events as well due to be held over the next week. Benedicte, we're just getting news as well that King Charles and the royal family will actually join the procession as the coffin is moved from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Hall. That's due to be on Wednesday. So that's another big event which we now know is going to happen on the Wednesday. I'm sure a lot of people will join line the streets of London to watch that event happening. It's quite unusual, isn't it, that the dates moved to the Monday, because initially it should have happened 10 days after the funeral, which would have put it on the Sunday, but obviously it's unlikely that a funeral would be held on a Sunday, so it's been moved to the Monday, which is such a puts it all into an official line and a process now that is developing and slightly being adapted because of the Sunday problem. But we know now that the funeral will be on that day.
Yes, this is all very, very carefully thought out. It's been prepared for years by, of course, the aides, staff of the Queen in liaison with top civil servants here. Nothing being left either forgotten or not very carefully weighed up and decided. This Operation London Bridge, also that British broadcasters, international broadcasters, we've known about and prepared for. And of course, She died on Thursday, late in the evening, but from that moment on, King Charles was king. It's just various steps that need to be gone through. And of course, the fact that Queen Elizabeth died in Scotland changes things slightly, because of course there'll be a lying in state there for 24 hours before the former sovereign's body is actually moved here to London. And I understand that Kate and William, the new Prince and Princess of Wales, are going to be looking at some floral tributes outside Windsor Castle. Meanwhile, for example, Princess Anne, Prince Andrew, two of the children of the Queen, have remained up at Balmoral, and I understand have attended in the last hour or so a religious ceremony, a mass of some kind, really, beginning to pay tribute again. It's the first time actually we see them in public since the announcement of the death of their beloved Mama, as Prince Charles would call her, and reminding us yesterday. He's really bringing that personal touch when he was saying that his beloved Mama would be joining his beloved Papa. So a mix of tradition, some modernity. Interesting to see some footage released on TikTok of Prince Charles moments after, well, King Charles now, moments after he had recorded his first address to the nation. And historic moments we are living through. And if today's crowds are anything to go by, and if I remember from the lying in state of the Queen's mother, the Queen Mother back in 2002, the queue became so very long in Parliament Square and down the neighbouring streets that it actually at one point took 24 hours to make it, to just file past the coffin. I think we're going to be seeing those kinds of scene for the much loved, much admired and now departed Queen Elizabeth II.
And just very briefly, Benedict, I mean, we mentioned now that confirmation of the date for the funeral, September the 19th. It sets into a whole process, doesn't it? And we were chatting just before we came there, and you mentioned to me that even already there at Buckingham Palace, some of it appears that things are starting to gear up, ready for the funeral.
Yes, so some of the neighbouring streets are being closed off. We're here in the heart of the British capital. St James's Palace, where he swore an oath, is just behind us. This is the London residence Buckingham Palace, well known by millions across the world. And you might hear a tiny bit of banging, and perhaps you can see a few men on that statue with high-vis jackets. They are building a platform that was used only a few months ago during the Platinum Jubilee for a concert. And sometimes that has been true in the past, in past jubilees. They are building, I understand, a platform where VIPs such as ambassadors and others will actually be positioned, I think, on the day of the funeral. So all of that swinging into action now, very practical, logistical things. Of course, people, leaders around the world will be saying and confirming whether they are coming or not and who they're coming with. All the, where they're seated at the funeral, for example, Westminster Abbey, all of this. The United Kingdom does pomp, pageantry extraordinarily well. Some say it's the best in the world. Certainly the eyes of the world on London and on that state funeral, and actually on the mourning period leading up to it.
Benedict, thanks ever so much. Benedicte Paviot, our correspondent, joining us there from London.